Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Joel B. Goodin. We're talking about Chapter 1, Definition of Key Terms. Um, this one's pretty straightforward. Um, don't choose too many. Uh, Stick with the template that you're given. In other words, this should stay indented. You just replace this with a word like self-efficacy. Um, and then you define it or describe it, paraphrase a definition is best. Um, so you might say self-efficacy. Um, this is and I don't really remember the year, let's say 82 or something. So it could be something like this. You could add a little bit more, but really you've got it. This second line should not be indented. So one thing, alphabetize and bold terms directly related to the dissertation topic and not commonly used or understood. So if it's self, then don't bother. If it's self-esteem, then maybe. Because that might be a word that maybe some people don't know, or they don't know how you want to define it in your study. Self-efficacy is definitely maybe more lingo, more of a term that you know because you're in psychology or whatever you're studying. And so the less of a common word it is, the more likely that you need to um, define it. So what I would do is just copy this and then just put the second term here. Let's say it's self-determination. Now you're going to notice something. First of all, I'm not going to put the and I'm just going to make up ones maybe something like that. And maybe this is from DC and Ryan. I'm just sort of making that statement up, so it may not be exactly correct. One thing I'll note here is that I've got this out of order alphabetically, so I'm going to paste this one up there. So it says alphabetize in bold terms directly related to the dissertation topic and not commonly used or understood. Secondly, paraphrase. Don't give me direct quotes unless it's just so perfect that so-and-so, I don't know, Martin Luther King Jr. said it, and you just have to use those exact words because they were so eloquent. Paraphrase otherwise. I'd say paraphrase 99.9% of the time. Paraphrase the definitions of the terms using complete sentences and provide a citation for each one, as I've done in my examples. Do not define theories, conceptual frameworks, statistical analyses. So you don't want to start putting ANOVA, you don't want self self-determination theory. You don't want to get into theories and frameworks and defining them. You're going to spend plenty of time on each of those. Statistical analyses like ANOVA, hierarchical regression. This is not the time for focusing on explaining those. In fact, by reading the research, your reader should have the requisite knowledge to understand the basics. We typically don't explain the nuts and bolts of how we're doing the research, but we do explain and extrapolate and elaborate, I should say, on the concepts and content that we're presenting in our study. So we would say no to these two. And how many? Oh, well, it varies, but you sort of want to hit 3 to 12. I don't know, 3 to 15. 2 seems a little too small. 3's pushing it. Somewhere around 5 to 8 is probably the sweet spot. 12 is kind of pushing it on the long end. So, and it's just a list of these, the bold term and then a sentence that discusses it briefly. At most, you notice that I use 2 sentences here to discuss self-determination as the concept. You wouldn't want to use much more than that. So that's what we've got for key terms. Make sure that you give your audience the information about the terms that you'll use that might not be readily understood or known, so that they don't have to go searching for that information. They may be familiar with research and methodology, but they may not have the content knowledge or expertise in your specific area. So acclimate them, help them acclimate, invite them, and welcome them to your study by presenting these key terms. That's really what you want to do. So think of what is the lingo that I'll use in my study that I might need to explain ahead of time. Aim for 5 to 10. Okay, thank you. I'll see you soon for the summary of Chapter 1. Thank you.